Hello, dear viewers. Thank you for coming back to continue following this dramatic story. In the previous episode, Quang unexpectedly discovered a shocking secret from an old camera. Evidence that revealed the dark scheme behind the assassination attempt. So, how will Quang confront his treacherous younger brother? And when the whirlpool of ambition threatens to destroy everything, what will the old mother do if she has to witness her two sons turning against each other? Stay with me until the very end of today's episode to find out the answers. And if you find this story captivating, don't forget to hit like and subscribe to support the channel. Quang sat quietly on the carved wooden chair. On the table, the teapot had already gone cold. No more steam rose from its spout. In his hand, the phone screen glowed. A video sent by his trusted friend was playing. The footage shook, but it was clear enough. The figure inside was Trung, his own younger brother. Quang's chest tightened. Each word in the recording pierced his heart like a blade. The voice was familiar, yet filled with coldness and schemes. He whispered to himself, How could you do this to me, Trung?" His hand trembled. Sweat dampened his palm. There was no mistake. The evidence was undeniable. At that very moment, the door creaked open. His mother stepped inside. Her face carried joy at seeing her son safe and sound. But her gaze quickly froze. It locked onto the phone, shaking in Quang's hand. She walked closer, her voice soft but worried. "Quang, what is it, my son?" Quang hesitated for a long second. Then he handed her the phone. The video continued to play. Trung's voice, his face, all too clear. The mother gasped. Her hands shook violently, tears welling in her eyes. "No, it's him. It's really Trung." "Oh God, how could this happen?" She clutched her chest. Her breath grew heavy. Her body seemed to collapse under the weight of the truth. Quang quickly put his arm around her shoulders. His voice was low, calm, but firm. "Mother, please, stay calm. I will take care of this. I promise. I will face the truth." The two sat in silence. The curtain swayed gently in the breeze. Birdsong echoed faintly outside. The heaviness of the moment pressed down on them. Quang knew this was a turning point, between family bonds and a brutal truth. He stood at a crossroads from which there was no return. Will he expose Trung's betrayal or protect what little remains of their blood ties? The answer still hung in Quang's mind, like a gray cloud casting its shadow over the entire house. Quang sat in silence, his face heavy with thought after watching the raw, undeniable truth in the clip with his mother. He knew the time for avoidance was over. After a long pause, he turned to her and said slowly, "Mother, we have to face Trung. If we don't, everything will only get worse." She nodded, sorrow in her eyes, but a firm resolve beneath it. Together, they walked toward the room where Trung was still asleep. The door creaked open, the quiet broken only by his steady breathing. "Trung, wake up. Mother needs to speak with you." Startled, Trung sat up, clutching his pillow as if for safety. Seeing Quang's stern gaze and his mother's pained face, he looked away, his voice sharp. "What is this about? Why are you looking at me like I'm guilty of something?" Quang didn't hesitate. He held out his phone, the video evidence still playing. "Look at this. How much longer will you deny it?" Trung glanced quickly, then waved it off, forcing a dry laugh. "This? Clearly someone fabricated it. Someone's trying to frame me. Do you really believe this more than you believe me?" His mother's voice broke, tears soaking her sleeve. "My son, that voice, that walk. What mother would not recognize her own child? How could you do such a thing? Just a little more, and your brother could have died by your own hands." Trung lowered his head, silent for a moment. Then he suddenly stood, shouting, "It wasn't me! "Stop pressing me, Mother. This is all a setup." The air in the room thickened, so heavy that even the ticking clock on the wall sounded loud. Quang clenched his fists, but his voice stayed calm. "I'll give you one last chance, Trung. Tell the truth, and I can still forgive you. But if you keep denying, then we have nothing left to say." Trung collapsed onto the edge of the bed, his hands gripping his head, his bloodshot eyes wild, like a wounded animal cornered with no escape. His mother suddenly broke down. Her grief, suppressed for too long, burst forth. She rose, her trembling hand delivering a resounding slap across his face. The sound cracked through the small room, tearing apart the suffocating silence. "Everything is already clear," she cried, voice shaking. "How can you still deny it?" Her eyes filled with tears, streaming down her cheeks. Her frail hands clutched Trung's shoulders, her plea trembling with despair. "My son, confess it. There is no other way left. Don't let everything shatter because of more lies." Trung pulled his arms away, breathing heavily, eyes clouded with despair. He gave no answer, only silence. A silence that made the room all the more unbearable. Quang's gaze bore into him, his heart pounding with turmoil. Was this the moment Trung would finally... Trung's knees hit the cold floor. His shoulders shook as he gripped his mother's hand, tears streaming down his cheeks. "Mom, brother, I can't hide it anymore," he choked, his voice choked with guilt. "It was me. I was the one who betrayed. I thought that if Quang was gone, the path to power would be mine. But now I see how blind and stupid I was." Quang stood by the window, his back to them, staring into the fading light outside. His chest heaved heavily, but he said nothing. The silence between them was heavier than any words could convey. Trung pressed his forehead against his mother's chest, sobbing like a child. "Please, Mother, forgive me. I was consumed by greed, ambition. I didn't realize what I was destroying. I didn't just betray my brother, I betrayed you too, Mother." Quang finally turned around. His eyes, once filled with warmth, were now burning with disappointment and grief. He looked down at Trung, who was still kneeling, broken and desperate. Trung's sobs grew louder. He crawled closer, clinging to Quang's legs like a drowning man struggling to breathe. "Brother, I beg you, give me a chance to start over. I will give it all back. I will fix it all. Just don't leave me." Quang jerked his legs away, his expression hardening. He turned away, trying not to let anyone see his tears. Quang walked to the door. His footsteps echoed throughout the room, each step like a final judgment. The sound of the door closing echoed in the silence, leaving only Trung's broken sobs and his mother's trembling breaths. The room seemed to collapse into stillness after Quang's departure. Trung remained on his knees, clutching his mother's hands, crying without restraint. But the mother's gaze was far away, drifting back into memories of a simpler time. She remembered when Quang and Trung were boys, small, fragile, yet inseparable. Every scrape on Quang's knee, Trung would cry louder than him. Every time Trung was bullied, Quang would stand in front of him like a shield. They were two halves of one heart, always sharing food, toys, even dreams. Her lips quivered as she whispered, almost to herself, How did it come to this?" Her tears fell freely now. The same hands that once held her sons close were now trembling, unable to hold them together. She could not understand how the love that once bound them had twisted into poison. Trung buried his face in her lap, but she no longer stroked his hair. Instead, her hands hovered, frozen between love and despair. She wanted to comfort him, but the image of Quang's wounded eyes burned too deeply in her mind. The mother's heart broke in two directions, toward the son who betrayed, and toward the son who had been betrayed. "All for what?" she cried softly. "For wealth? For power? Was it worth turning against your own blood? The weight of her words pressed down. In that moment, the mother realized that her greatest fear had come true. Not losing her sons to death, but losing them to hatred, and she wondered, with a trembling voice, can a family ever be whole again, when love itself has been shattered by betrayal? In the quiet of the living room, the storm of emotions seemed to have settled, leaving only heavy silence behind. Trung lowered his head, his eyes filled with regret. His mother gently held his hand, guiding him down the steps to face Quang once more. Every step Trung took was slow and heavy, as if burdened by the weight of his own mistakes. Quang sat waiting, calm in appearance, yet his gaze was sharp and unyielding. When his eyes met his younger brother's, he remained silent for a long moment before speaking, his voice steady but cutting. Trung, I once trusted you deeply. To me, a brother is not only blood, but also someone I could rely on. I believed that one day, when I stepped back, you would be the one to carry the company forward. I would have gladly, even proudly, handed everything over to you. If only you had proven yourself worthy, but not like this, not through betrayal and cowardice. Trung trembled, his throat tightening. He could not speak. Beside him, their mother's eyes brimmed with tears, her sighs the only sound in the room. Quang turned toward her, his expression softening, though his tone remained firm. Mother, I will not return home for the next few days. I need time to think, and to keep myself steady. With that, he rose to his feet, put on his jacket, and walked out. His figure disappeared beyond the door, leaving behind a silence heavier than any words. Trung remained seated, his fingers trembling as they intertwined. His mother turned to him, her voice breaking but resolute. My son, I no longer have the strength to pull you and your brother back together. But listen to me. If you truly seek forgiveness, it cannot come through words alone. You must prove it through effort. Through your own ability. Fame and ambition can blind a man, but sincerity and hard work can bring him back to the right path. Trung slowly lifted his gaze, his eyes swollen and red. And in that moment, he understood. The road ahead would be long and painful, but it was the only path left to reclaim what he had lost. By proving himself with truth and change, not with deceit or betrayal. Inside the company office, Quang sat in silence. The room was spacious, but his heart felt heavy and suffocated. Even though hours had passed since his encounter with his younger brother Trung, the memory of that moment still haunted him like a shadow. The betrayal of someone he once trusted most was a wound that refused to heal. He called the chief accountant into the room. The woman stepped in, carrying a thick folder in her arms, her face cautious yet respectful. Quang's voice was low but firm. I want to review every single account that Trung has withdrawn from the company. Every number, every transaction. Make it clear to me. The accountant carefully placed the papers on the desk. Together, they examined each line of expenses, each irregular withdrawal. The cold numbers on the pages weighed like sharp blades carving deeper into Quang's chest. He leaned back in his chair, exhaling heavily, his hand gripping the edge of the desk. All these years building the company, and now, hurt by my own brother. The accountant hesitated before speaking. Sir, should we report all of this publicly? Quang was silent for a long moment. Then he straightened his back, his eyes sharp with determination. No, this company cannot collapse because of one person's mistake. Transfer money from my personal account and cover the losses. No matter how hard it is, I will take responsibility. The accountant looked stunned, but then slowly nodded, admiration in her eyes. She knew only a leader who was willing to sacrifice this much could keep an entire company afloat in the middle of a storm. When the office door closed, Quang remained alone at his desk. The glow of the computer screen reflected on his tired face. He closed his eyes for a moment, whispering to himself, "My brother, I am still protecting you." But do you even realize it? And how long will it take before you finally learn to stand on your own? If you are still listening, I truly believe that your heart is filled with deep compassion. Perhaps your eyes are filled with tears. But is Quang's silent sacrifice enough to save the company? And more importantly, what will bring warmth to his heart? Leave a comment with your thoughts, and I am very touched by that. Let's continue the story together. That afternoon, after a long day filled with countless tasks, Quang carefully checked every detail, from financial records to construction progress. He reviewed everything with precision. When all seemed stable, he handed the supervision back to the psych manager. But as he stood still, a wave of hesitation rose in his heart. After so many storms, he wondered, what should be his next step? His weary heart longed for peace, and so he decided to go to LinDa. At the small porch, LinDa welcomed him with a gentle smile. No words were needed. Her gaze alone eased his mind. They walked into the garden, planting rows of young vegetables together. Hands once used to pens now dug into the soft earth. LinDa laughed softly at his clumsy moves. That laughter was like a healing balm. As they worked, Quang's hand brushed against LinDa's. He froze for a moment, but she only smiled, her eyes glowing in the afternoon light. She handed him another sprout. "Take it slow, or you'll break the stem," she said gently. Quang smiled back. "As long as you're by my side," he whispered, "even my clumsiness feels right." They both laughed, but in their laughter was something deeper. Later, they picked ripe fruits in the back garden. LinDa stretched high to reach one. Quang stepped closer, steadying her carefully. That closeness brought him peace. No doubts, no burdens, only simple joy. The Ree puppies ran around the yard, barking playfully. Quang knelt down, holding one in his arms. He laughed as it licked his hands. LinDa watched him, her eyes shining with quiet happiness. In that moment, Quang realized true happiness is not in ambition. It lies in small, fleeting moments of life. As night fell, they lit a small fire. Flames flickered, warming their faces. Quang helped LinDa cook, fumbling now and then. Each mistake made them both laugh. They sat side by side, cooking and talking. The simple kitchen was filled with warmth, and Quang's true smile finally returned. In that quiet mountain home, Quang felt the meaning of simplicity. He had once lost it, chasing money and ambition. Now, with LinDa beside him, he understood. Life only finds meaning when it is shared, when there is love, and when there is a home to return to. By the flickering fire, Quang's smile gradually returns, but deep inside, are the old wounds truly healed? Is LinDa's gentle love enough to soothe his scarred heart? And what about Trung? Has he really changed? Or has the shadow of ambition returned? The answer will be in the next fascinating episode. If you find this story touching, please pause for a moment, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave your thoughts. It means a lot and helps this journey live on. Thank you for watching. See you in the next episode.
Chúng ta vừa cùng nhau đi qua một hành trình nhỏ nhưng là chất chứa thật nhiều cảm xúc, từ những nỗi buồn, những giọt nước mắt cho đến cả những khoảnh khắc bình yên, giản dị vô cùng quý giá. Cảm ơn bạn đã đồng hành và lắng nghe đến tận những giây phút cuối cùng. Mỗi một lượt xem, mỗi một ánh mắt dừng lại, mỗi một trái tim cùng đồng cảm đều là nguồn động lực để cho những câu chuyện như thế này được tiếp tục viết nên. Nếu cuộc sống còn buồn bề, đôi khi chỉ cần những giây phút lắng lại, bạn sẽ nhận ra rằng niềm tin, lòng nhân ái và sự sẻ chia luôn có sức mạnh chữa lành kỳ diệu. Và cũng chính nhờ có bạn người không ngại dành thời gian quý giá để đồng hành, mà hành trình của những vật trong câu chuyện này trở nên trọn vẹn hơn, ấm áp hơn. Dù phía trước vẫn còn nhiều chông gai, nhưng chỉ cần trái tim con người biết hướng về nhau thì bóng tối nào cũng sẽ được soi sáng bởi một tia hy vọng. Xin gửi đến bạn lời cảm ơn chân thành nhất. Hẹn gặp lại các bạn trong các tập tiếp theo, nơi câu chuyện còn tiếp tục mở ra và những bước chân kiên cường, những mơ ước lặng lẽ và niềm tin chưa bao giờ tắt. Cảm ơn các bạn rất nhiều. Chúc các bạn luôn bình an.